speaking skills and get more confidence in addressing a large audience. These current and future leaders will receive feedback on their speeches, empowering them to continue their growth and development with the JCI organization. The speakers have up to 4 minutes for their speeches. They will be asked to choose from one of the following 5 topics. What is it that brought you into the organization that makes you the right person for a leadership role? With the decline in members, not only in the JCs, but in civic groups in general, what could you do to stand out to be the best and grow membership? How have you incorporated your JC's experience into your professional career? And please be specific. As JCI USA prepares to celebrate its 100th anniversary, what tradition of the JCs is most important to the integrity of the organization, and how should we continue that tradition in years ahead? And what is the common issue that all American communities face that a JC should find a solution to in utilizing the active citizen framework? Without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker from the Peach State, Danielle Fields. On deck is Ross Ratliff. Ross, please come over here.
I did most of my growing up in the 90s. It was a diverse time for culture. We had grunge, ska, and the golden age of hip hop. We had belly shirts and baby doll dresses, scrunchies and pipes, which were pants, not smoking apparatuses. The 90s also brought a new wave of technology with a glorious CD that made your computer magical after a short dial-up song courtesy of AOL. My theory is that just like video killed the radio star, the internet almost killed civic groups. We are so often distracted by the newest, flashiest item, and the internet was no exception. Suddenly you could explore news, entertainment, and sports in real time. You could chat with people from all over the world, and as a result, it was easier to socialize from the comfort of your own home. Civic groups, including the JCs, took a big hit in the 90s, and the decline has not stopped. But now is the time. Young people are seeking ways to be involved. They need opportunities to learn how to be professional and how to interact with others in the workforce and in our communities. The up-and-coming generation needs leadership development more than ever. The Junior Chamber is uniquely qualified to fill in the void for young people entering or already in the workforce. Our mission is to provide development opportunities that empower young people to create positive change. So how do we stand out and in turn grow? Our mission is first and foremost to provide development opportunities. We are not volunteers, we are not networkers, we are not community service, and we are not money funnels. We are leaders. Yes, we will do each of these things, but volunteering and community service should not define us. The root of everything we do should center around leadership and providing opportunities that enable membership to grow personally and professionally. Our members will be able to add frosting to their resumes with skills like project management, communication, teamwork, time management, fundraising, critical thinking, conflict resolution, marketing, etc. We can no longer communicate that we are a networking or service group and definitely not a party group. How do we become the best organization for young people? We already are. We just have to communicate what all of us in the room already know. Chapters and individual members should know and live the creed and should be able to recite the mission to anyone interested and be actively pursuing the passport to civic leadership. As members focus on the mission, we will inevitably grow. Our mission is attractive and beneficial. As a result of individual, personal, and professional growth, members will intentionally and organically recruit other like-minded people. The best contributions of the 90s were the movies. Andy Dufresne summed it up best in The Shawshank Redemption. I guess it comes down to this, really. get busy living or get busy dying. Together, let's focus on the living part as an organization and go out breathing new life and hope into our organization. So I challenge you to go back to each of your chapters and states and lead by example. Recite and remind others of the mission always. Redirect when the direction goes off course. And as you grow and learn, remember that service to humanity is the best work of life.
Next, from the Crossroads of America, Ross Ratliff. On deck, Krista Schaefer.
Leadership is not about a title or a designation. It's about impact, influence, and inspiration. Impact involves getting results. Influence is about spreading the passion you have for your work, and you have to inspire your teammates and members along the way. I want to go back in time to about 5 years ago. At 25 years old, this guy had a great job, but didn't really know what he wanted to do when he grew up. He went to his first JC meeting and almost didn't become a member. Thankfully, he went back to the next meeting. He didn't feel like he would fit in, but he tried again, went back to that next meeting, and he got involved. At this next meeting, he jumped in, got involved with the chapter's largest project, and the rest is history. This guy not only joined the JCs, but he jumped feet first into development opportunities that have not only benefited his community, they benefited him as a person. And he didn't realize that he would have the time of his life in this organization, and he would meet his best friends from across the country and the world. That guy was me. I don't know who I was 5 years ago, but I'm so glad that I joined this organization. I was ready for the JC's opportunity. Others saw potential in me, but I didn't see it. When asked to go beyond the local level, I didn't know what I wanted to do. One influential person in the organization told me 5 years ago that I had potential and I would go far within this organization. Laughing nervously and just kind of looking at her, I shrugged my shoulders and I was like, yeah, I don't really see that. Today, my involvement has not made me just a better JC. The opportunity has given me the chance to find a dream career and become a leader. Without this organization, I would have never been able to see that dream job, let alone know how I could find it without even looking. I also found a voice that I didn't know I had, and there's no way that I would be up here speaking 5 years ago. I probably wouldn't be in this room. I would have ran out the doors. The secret to success is to be ready for the opportunity when it comes. I have learned as a leader in this organization, you are volunteering your time to gain valuable experience that no other organization can provide. You must do whatever it takes, requiring a constant drive to continue learning and understanding that no issue is the same as another. You have to know a little bit about a lot, and know a lot about the support system that you have around you to know where to start if you don't. To know that no question is a stupid question, and that you always have a voice. And with that voice, you become a mentor to help that guy grow and develop their untapped potential. A leader is there to jump in when someone needs help, being a confidant when someone needs an ear to listen to jump in and assist when there is a shortcoming, and to admit that you were wrong when you make a mistake. You are also a coach, providing the strategy during practice to be successful and to be open for changes along the way. At game time, you have to be ready for foul balls and strikeouts, but you strive to do whatever it takes to get your team to hit that home run and slam into victory. In terms of time, we always hear that you have 1 year to lead, 1 year to make your mark on the organization and pass the torch on to the next person so they continue to build the momentum. A great leader will always be there to jump in and help in any way they can, regardless of the title. I want to leave you with a task. Go out and find that guy, that girl, or that person at this point. Be that mentor to them and that leader that shows them their true potential so that they can make that jump into the organization just like I did 5 years ago. Tell them that they have that potential and allow them to showcase their talents so that they can lead our organization into the future.
Thanks, Ross. From the Empire State of New York, Krista Schaefer. On deck, Marissa Naya.
Well, as you saw, some of you guys saw at the board meeting, I stood up being a member for 20 years. I have been a member for 20 years. I grew up in the JCs. And with the celebration of the 100th year ahead of us for JCI USA, one must think about what traditions do we have as JCs. So I was asking people last night and throughout the weekend, and I reflected a little bit. I grew up, even before the 20 years, because I was a junior JC. What was one of our biggest traditions that we had? And I realized to myself, it's empowering young people to make positive change. That's part of our mission also. But it's a change within yourself and in our community. We are changing and sending these ripple effects throughout our community to make people truly understand who they are and how our communities are. We do community projects. Some of them do call them volunteers, but we are the ones that run it. We are the leaders. We are making that change. So our organization and the traditions inspire members to look into the communities. We do community surveys. We find out where it is. Your community is different than my community, than your community. So my projects and what our chapters are doing might be different. People joining that positive change might be, they need to get out of their bubble. They need to grow as an individual. So they're gonna go to a chapter that has socials and learn things. And then they get a little bit more inspired, and then they'll do a project. And then we learn about the PMGs, and we learn about a budget. A lot of people don't even know how to do a budget, so they might even be able to develop themselves that way. Our organization, by empowering us with our values and our trainings and the opportunities. Like I stated differently through our different chapters, we are empowered differently with the opportunities. I will tell you one of my favorite trainings that I actually presented on was time and stress management, which I reflect still to this day. I needed that at that point. I've developed more into an individual where I am. I'm standing in front of you. I never thought I would speak. It actually took my own daughter to stand in front of all of the delegation in Vegas to speak before I would speak in front of the whole delegation of JCI USA. So these are the different traditions. You guys help create the families, the friendships. I will tell you, I can walk in this room, and all of you guys, a lot of you guys can tell if I'm stressed. If I need a hug, if I need someone to blow me a kiss, because you guys have learned, and that's the traditions of JCI USA that we need to keep going for the next 100 years to make us be that organization. We have the professional development. I have learned and grown. PMG, I'm a teacher, so PMGs are very similar to lesson plans. So I'm right on it. I like numbers, so the budget is easy. But there's been other areas and opportunity that I haven't. Just like ACF, those CLC, I tell you how much I love CLC. Those are the little tools that we have to empower our members. Also, one thing that I think traditionally what we do that empowers our members, our conventions, the celebrations, the socials, seeing family I haven't seen maybe a couple weeks ago because I was down in Tennessee, or people I haven't seen in 6 months because it's been the last national convention and I've missed them. Because they inspire me to be better. I leave here, and many of you leave here, empowered to make positive change within yourself and your chapters. Because we are all together celebrating. Or hearing Toya, where you walk out feeling like this little, because you're like, wow, I thought I did some stuff. Thank you.
Virginia is for lovers, Marissa Nagel. On deck, Vanessa Birchler.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. As a leader of a nonprofit, I think it's important to be mission-focused and not focused on oneself. For my daytime gig, I achieved my dream job just 2 years ago. I'm the executive director of the American Red Cross Coastal Virginia chapter. I get to lead a board of directors of volunteers to consensus. I have 21 of them. It's not always so easy. I get to be the face of the American Red Cross in my community. I get to speak to the media. I raise money and awareness for our mission. You know, the American Red Cross is a lot like the JCs. The Red Cross mission is to alleviate human suffering. and here in the JCs, we want to serve humanity. So I think it's a great fit. And I truly believe that service to humanity is the best work of life. But as a leader, leading by example is a must. Last fall, I deployed to North Carolina to help with disaster relief from Hurricane Florence. And the devastation that I saw there was incredibly sad. But I was motivated by the volunteers. The Red Cross is a 90% volunteer workforce that we helped deliver that service to humanity. And one of the situations I went into was there was this community that had been flooded, and the septic system also flooded. So their access, I was there 2 weeks post-landfall, their access to supplies hadn't happened yet. And I was able to be there on a very hot day in a place where, like I said, the septic system had flooded, and give out supplies to those who needed them. And that experience was a strong reminder to me of what the Red Cross does, and it's a lot, like I said, the JCs do. My role there was also to work with local elected officials to identify other areas with unmet needs. Last year, I planned a smoke alarm installation campaign in 4 cities on one day, engaging hundreds of volunteers. And this year, I get to lead this project across the Commonwealth of Virginia. We're planning over 15 events across the Commonwealth. And I'm leading a team, a remote team, spread across the state to make 1,650 homes safer. If you didn't know, every day, 7 people die in a home fire. So I'm very passionate about making my community a safer place. I'm a team builder, and I believe that engaging individuals, we can achieve more. I've also applied this in the JCs. The East Coast Surfing Championships is an event that the Virginia Beach JCs host annually, and it requires year-round attention to plan it. It is the oldest surf competition in the nation, and the 2nd oldest in the world. Tens of thousands of attendees come for 8 days to Virginia Beach. And just 2 months ago, my city did a survey, and it has a $25 million economic impact to our city. So I was chapter president for 2 years, overseeing this event. Fun fact, last year's winner was from Japan, and in 2020, he's going to compete in the Olympics. I say all of this because planning a team of my peers for such a big event required me to keep everyone motivated and an inclusive environment. Make strategic and stressful decisions that will impact this for years to come. I facilitate consensus, motivate others, as President Tricia says, to be the change. I will continue to seek out leadership opportunities in my career in the JCs because I am passionate about inspiring others to serve humanity because, say it with me, it's the best work of life. Thank you.
Thanks, Marissa. From the land of Lincoln of Illinois, Vanessa Birchler. On deck, Tyler Bronca. Over the past 100 years, the JC's impact on young people and local communities across the country and around the globe has been tremendous. At the 50th anniversary celebration, the then U.S. JC's president, Andre Latejandra, spoke to the board of directors about the need to continue changing the organization to remain relevant. During his call for action, he said, "I wish you could travel with me across the nation and see what this nation would not have if it was not for the United States JCs." I think all of us in this room can think of the impact our local chapters are making in our communities. There is something that would not happen or would not be available to people in our community without our JC chapters. The JCs have a strong tradition of being doers. We have implemented programs and built a level of credibility that has allowed the organization to be influencers. As we look to the next 100 years, it is important that we remain the people who are the doers. A doer, per Urban Dictionary, is someone who has a seemingly impossible idea and persists until the idea is fully actualized. Our founder, Henry Giesenberg, was a doer. He developed a vision for the organization, and through his hard work and getting others to join him, his vision became a reality.
Part of his philosophy was that actions speak louder. In 1916, St. Louis was preparing to host the Democratic National Convention. Members of the then YMPCA were concerned that the unsightly litter at the train station would cause people to create an unfavorable impression of the city even before they stepped off the train. It was then that they ran their first community project. These men began partnering with the city to get the necessary equipment to clean up the litter. They could have called on the city to take action and do it themselves, but instead they took to being doers and showed that actions speak louder. These young men made such a big impact that the organizers of the convention asked 200 of them to serve on the welcoming committee. This first community project of the YMPCA quickly set them onto a course of community service we still embody today, identifying a need and taking action on it. Following the litter cleanup, they took on a massive project. They took to surveying the city's poorest districts, and inspections were done for sanitary and fire hazards. A project was planned and executed that likely used the same principles we use today from the active citizen framework. Throughout the history of the JCs, our members have taken some of the strangest, far-fetched ideas and turned it into projects that have provided development opportunities to our members and made our communities a better place. Using their connections and partners to ensure success. As we look to the next 100 years, it is important that our members use the tools the organization provides to continue to make an impact on our local communities. It is our duty to continue that strong tradition with the same vigor, passion, and integrity of Henry Giesenbeer and the hundreds of thousands of young people who have come before us. Our world is constantly changing, and civic organizations, the JCs included, are struggling to remain relevant. I challenge all of you to think about these two questions and take action to make your vision a reality, just as Henry Giesenbeer did. What will you do tomorrow? How will the young men and women who are members today be the doers of our generation?
Thanks, Nessa. From the islands of Aloha, Hawaii, Tyler Miranka and Terry Bartley, you are on deck.
Oh boy, millennials. We all love those guys. But one common issue that I feel across the United States especially, one thing that we can use the active citizen framework to do is identify how we can better communicate with these guys. To better communicate with our younger generation, to foster a better culture of leadership. Not only within JCI USA, but within our country, communities across America. So what makes understanding these millennials so difficult? You know, I'm going to need a little bit more than 4 minutes to answer this question. But utilizing the active citizen framework, we can begin to investigate how to best approach this issue. Sorry, millennials. I don't mean to offend you guys. Please don't take offense to this. But to everybody else, you know, aren't they really difficult to work with? The entitlement, impatience, etc. A little difficult. But who can blame them? Who can blame them? Is it really their fault that they are like this? You know, right now in the world, we're at a time where divorce rates are through the roof, all over the world. You know, these people that have grown up perhaps may have been in separated families. You know, they might have grown up with a strong father figure, or maybe not have had the opportunity to learn the strong family values at a young age. So is it their fault? Utilizing the active citizen framework, we can begin to look at the right questions just like this. You know, how will we take sustainable action to connect with these guys? So what's going on with them? You know, have they been encountering prejudice? Have they been bullied in school? I'm not sure. But to know, we can use the active citizen framework to get out there, collect data, and begin investigating which things we actually have to address to improve our communication and to improve the culture of leadership in America. We are a leadership development organization. We are leaders. We're change makers. We build leaders. I always say back at home, the world needs more good people. It is our responsibility to stand up and lead this charge. But if you had to take action, I can 100% guarantee you, if we utilize the active citizen framework, we will have an opportunity to make sustainable change in this area. But guess what? With the active citizen framework, we can begin to ask questions like, hey, what if we can get into the even younger generation, the people in the elementary schools? If we focus our efforts here, we might be able to shape that whole generation before some guy 20 years later, 20, 30 years later, they're like, hey, we got another problem. But please, empower yourselves, look at the active citizen framework. I know sometimes it can be a little bit harder, sometimes it might be a little bit easier, but it will for sure give us the best opportunity to make sustainable impact on the future leadership in this world. As a JCI member, I will do my best to further this mission and further our cause. And I hope you all will join us to do this too. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. From the wild and wonderful West Virginia, Terry Bartley. On deck, Miranda Williams.
So before I dig into my speech, I feel like I need to talk a little bit about my outfit. It's not what I wanted it to be today. I didn't mean to pair a brown corduroy sort of casual jacket with my sort of nice gray dress clothes. I thought I was going to, this is like my formal outfit today, it doesn't look formal, right? So I didn't love that. But whenever I was getting dressed this morning, I put on my nice blue formal jacket, and it was way too big for me. So I want you guys to notice, and you made sure that you noticed, which feels very good, by the way, thank you, that I've lost around 110 pounds this past year. Thank you, I love the cheap applause. So whenever I put the jacket on, I looked sort of like a kid in his dad's clothes, and it wasn't going to work. And it just didn't fit, and I had to accept that it didn't fit. And I had to sort of figure out what I had to do and adapt and change, and that's why I put on the jacket I brought from earlier in the week, because it works. And it's not perfect, but it's working, and I can make it work. And I think that as JCI USA moves into the 100th anniversary, we start thinking, what traditions do we want to prioritize whenever we move forward? So the tradition that I think is most important to JCI USA is that of creating active change. So before I sort of dig into why I feel that's important, I'd like to highlight some of the accomplishments that JCI USA has made nationwide throughout our existence. So in 1923, we established the Get Out the Vote campaign, which political campaigns now use as shorthand for a week that they do right before election day. So we changed, that's a thing we did that changed the culture. National Wildlife Federation is something that we established and is now an independent nonprofit. That's amazing. Safety with Lights is a program where we gave lights to small towns that made people associate, a lit area as something that's safer for people. The Clean Water program where we provided clean water to towns that didn't have it. The Do Something campaign, which is now a nonprofit that I get texts from all the time. Like, it's a thing that, like, we made really amazing strides. And whenever you look at whenever we stopped creating those programs, it was around the time whenever people started noticing that we had member loss. And I don't know for sure, but I like to think that we started focusing internally whenever we were worried about our organization. And I feel like that was the wrong move. Our program is the JCI USA is something that creates positive change. That's what we do. And I feel like we haven't been doing that nationwide for a while. We do it in our communities, but we haven't been doing it in a large scale. So I feel like we've lost our way a little bit. So I hope that as we move forward, that is a tradition that we can prioritize. Because the truth is, in order for JCI USA to become an organization that fits for the majority of young people in the 21st century, it's going to look really, really different. And it has to in order for it to adapt and change. Like, there's going to be a lot of hard decisions we have to make in the next 10 or 15 years if we want to keep going. I mean, if we want to last another 100 years. And I think that something we need to keep in mind is that if we want to do that, we need to think about what are the things that we want to keep. What are our keys that we want to hold on to as an organization? And I think that creating positive change at a nationwide level is a thing that we really, really need to keep. We need to start doing it again because it's so important. So, with that said, it's going to look really different, right? But the thing is, whenever positive change happens and things look different, it's not always easy and it's a little frustrating. It's a little frustrating that I have to buy new clothes every 2 months because I'm losing weight at such a consistent rate. But whenever my jacket didn't fit, not once did I think, well, geez, I just wish I had 100 pounds heavier so I can wear this jacket right now. So I think that we need to remember that sometimes whenever things are different, it's okay. And you can still look pretty good in a brown quarter jacket and a glittery bow tie.
Thank you, Terry. From the Magnolia State of Mississippi, Miranda Williams. On deck, Nate Martin.
The JCs give you opportunities and set you on a path that you may not have originally planned to go down. All my life, I've just wanted to be part of something bigger than myself. But I didn't even know what that meant. Like, I thought myself was just me. It ends in my skin. I was given this body, or this vehicle that we call a body, and I got such a sporty model. But we're supposed to travel the road of life and go through and just stop along the way, do a couple of good things. Well, I'm a 911 dispatcher. I've been a 911 dispatcher for almost 18 years now. And it's the perfect job for me because I get to be nosy, I get to know everybody's business, I get to tell cops where to go, and I have job security because hold my beer, watch this leads to 911, where's your emergency? I was always content in my job, and I knew that I was doing something to be part of something bigger. I was the one that people called at the worst times of their lives. I was the voice that was able to calm down children, calm down crying wives that had just lost their husband or something. Several years into my career, I joined the JCs. They lured me in saying, well, you can get career advancement. There's not really anything higher I can go to because you don't want to give me a gun, and I'm scared of the dark, so I can't be a cop. Well, through the JCs, I learned about the active citizen framework and how we don't just put a Band-Aid on things. We actually try to get to the root of the problem and create impact, create positive change. Well, an opportunity did come for advancement. My chief comes to me and he was like, we want to start doing a community policing program and I need an assistant. It's like, wow, for the past 10 years, I have abbreviated everything. I can't even spell anymore, and all I know how to do is talk in 10 code. Now I'm going to be writing letters, and you're going to sign them? Are you sure you want to do this? And he's like, well, we're going to add to it. We want to do a Shop with a Cop Christmas program. I said, oh, great, I love this. Well, we had been doing it for a while, and we were taking 2 kids, the same 2 kids, every single year, shopping for Christmas. It looks great in the newspaper. We're doing something, right? But at the end of the day, we weren't doing anything else for these kids. The officers would meet them at Walmart. They would run through, get their stuff, and then they'd leave. That was it. I knew, as a dispatcher, I've talked to children on the phone. I knew that there was a bigger thing we could do. I've talked to kids that call because mommy and daddy's fighting and daddy's got a gun. I know the emotion that these kids have because they don't have any mentors. They don't have anybody that they can look up to. So I said, let's add these children. They may not be financially needy, but let's add these children. Let's add the children that every time they see a fire truck, they freak out because their house burned down. Let's add the little girls that don't trust men because they've been sexually abused by them. So that first year, we took 20 families. We raised over $10,000. They come to the police department. They have pizza. They're buddied up with a cop. And we tour the police station, the police cars. We even have the rescue helicopter land, and that's really cool. So Santa Claus comes, gives them their gift cards, and they run through Walmart, but they're all day long spending with a new friend. We didn't realize the program was working until one of our children was involved in another call, and he wouldn't speak to anybody else. We knew he was one of our kids, and so we called the officer, and immediately the officer was able to calm him down because they had that connection. So the JCs may not have given me everything, but they did give me my career advancement, and I don't have to have a gun.
Thank you, Miranda. From another island of Aloha, Hawaii, Nate Martin. On deck, Neil Fitzgerald.
USA Army JCI. I did a quick Google search on the word leadership, and the word that came out was guidance or direction. But for me, throughout my JC career, the one word that resonates with me when I think about leadership is inspiration. Now, you know me and my speech as an MVP candidate. My talk was about inspiration because I felt that the JCs inspired me to do more within my community and within myself. So let me take you back to 2006 when there was this awesome guy on the volleyball courts jumping high over that net to spike that ball down, to give me those ace serves and to dig up those balls. Little did I know was that that organization that ran those volleyball leagues was a JC chapter. So I was inspired by my team captain to do my first project, Meals on Wheels. And again, little did I know that that project inspired me to do more because those recipients of those meals were so appreciative of those things that we were doing for that one project. So it inspired me to do more projects, to continue doing our Meals on Wheels, and then inspired me to do my first chairman project. And at that time, filling out the Chairman's Planning Guide, or CPG. Continuing on throughout my JC career, doing those projects, again, my team captain inspired me to join the board of directors for my home chapter. Didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I thought it was a great opportunity because my team captain inspired me to do so. So I joined the board of directors of my home chapter as a membership, vice president, and treasurer. Then my chapter president inspired me to become chapter president the year after. Little did I know that my members of my home chapter was going to inspire me to do more. I saw the drive, the determination that they wanted to create that positive change within our community. So again, the members inspired me to do more. So I joined the state board of my state, and I served as management vice president, served as secretary, and throughout that whole time, now members from other chapters within my home state, which was doing amazing projects within their community, was inspiring me to do more. I felt that my experience that I had thus far as being chapter and now state, I could give back to my JCs because they gave me so much more. So then I was inspired to become state president. I was like, that's it. I want to just help my state to do great work within my state. But again, there was somebody out there who wanted to inspire me to do something more, which is why I was then a candidate last year and standing on your stage as one of your national vice presidents. Because now I have the opportunity to inspire members from across the entire country. Now, how amazing is that? That the same inspiration that was given to me all those years ago when I was just a volleyball player on the volleyball court, now I get to return that favor and inspire the members of JCI USA. So when I think of leadership and what I can give to this organization, I felt that with my experience throughout the JC career that I had thus far, inspiration is what I can give to the members and the future members of this organization. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nate. From the Golden State of California, Neil Fitzgerald. Ryan Henry, you're on deck.
Don't stop believing.
Hold on to that feeling.
This is going to be into my minutes. We all like that song because that song talks about belief. One of my favourite things and one of my favourite traditions of JCI USA is our creed. And our creed starts with, we believe. One of our proud traditions, and we've heard earlier from people who've had their own belief, their own inspiration as well, is that when we truly believe, we can create that real sustainable positive change. Now, we do a lot of what I call JCI vomit when we meet new people. So we talk about how we gave Elvis an award, and it's his favourite thing ever, and JFK used to be a member, and we did the Get Out the Vote campaign, and Domino's Pizza was started with P&G, and those hospital signs were started by us as well. What we forget with all of that is that each of those projects and each of those people truly believed. They believed in our organisation, and more importantly, they believed in themselves and they believed in each other. And when I look at the fact that we have unfortunately lost half of our membership in 10 years, that is because people don't believe in us. We are a membership-based organisation that has a product. We keep on talking about how we are leadership development. We've heard that from the speakers before me. I'm sure we'll hear that from the speakers after me as well. But we do not develop enough leaders, and we don't stick with what our product is. And then we lose belief. Now, yes, some people age out, but we also know people who sign up and then they don't stick with us. So my belief is that we have to believe in each other, and we have to believe in our traditions, but we can't be constrained by them. Now, next year is our 100th birthday. It's also going to be 400 years since the Mayflower sailed from Southampton. It started in Southampton, not in Plymouth. Now, the Pilgrims believed. The Pilgrims ripped up the old order. They went to the New World to better themselves. Do we want to be like the Pilgrims? Do we want to be like JFK? Do we want to be like Elvis, who didn't back down and became a very successful singer? Do we want to be like the people who started Domino's Pizza? Do we want to be like the people who started the Get Out the Vote campaign? Or are we going to be like the other famous ship from Southampton? Are we going to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic? Are we going to play the same old tune one more time and sink into the annals of history? Or are we going to be like the Pilgrims? The choices that you face at the election in September don't just impact next year, they impact the next 100 years. I want you to make sure that you ask each and every candidate, what is their plan of action and what are they going to do to truly believe in this organisation? Because when we don't stop believing, we are completely unstoppable. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. From the great volunteer state of Tennessee, Ryan Henry. Chandries, you are on deck.
Okay, so I'm going to preface this by saying I absolutely hate public speaking. Like, I mean, my face is probably about 6 shades of red. Also, when I walked up here, I saw my advisors and they realized I did not have a piece of paper with a speech written down. It's probably the best face I've seen all week. You know, to follow up with what Neil said, I came into BOD about 5 minutes late because you walked over there, and have really bad social anxiety. So when I walked in, people were looking at me, and I was a nervous wreck. And it made me think about something. Belief. With the decline in membership, it's because we don't believe in it anymore. You know, I was sitting up front almost in tears because I was so embarrassed. And it's because I believe in this organization that much. I started when I was 14. Went to a great place called Camp Discovery. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's a camp for mentally and physically handicapped individuals in Tennessee. And when you see some of those faces, we've had people from the ages of 9 to upwards of 70 that come. And it's to give them a camp experience. So for me, going down there and seeing them, and seeing what we could do as an organization, seeing the joy we could bring in people's lives, that's what made me believe in this organization. I came up with a thought. I pay $32 a month for a gym membership that I obviously do not use that much. You know, so that comes to close to $400 a year. The biggest excuse you hear from people is, well, I don't have the money. I pay $400 for a gym membership that I don't use, so you can't tell me that I'm going to tell you I'm going to give you $55 or whatever you're charging in your state. People will give you money to belong to something. And when you can show them what the organization as a whole can bring to them, they're going to believe in that. You know, everybody has their own reasons for joining. Friends, leadership development, community service. Mine was none of those. It was those faces that I got to see at Camp Discovery. It was the joy that I got to see. It was, honestly, it made me feel like I belonged to something. And if you can't sell that to people, who's going to say no? You talk about the decline in membership. Why is it declining? If you don't believe in what you're selling, people aren't going to believe in it either. You know, people always say, oh, what's a party organization? Okay, I can't tell you what's not a party organization. We party a little bit too hard sometimes. But that's not what we are. You know, each state has their own signature project. Each state brings something new to the table. Tennessee, obviously, Camp Discovery. If you can't sell that, I mean, come on. I sold timeshare. I sold people a piece of paper that means nothing. If anybody owns timeshare, I promise I'll sell it to you. If you have maintenance fees, it's not my fault. But if people are going to pay $32,000 for a piece of paper that means nothing, they're going to pay $55 to join an organization that means something. But you have to believe in what you're selling. And if you don't believe in it, don't listen.
From the great Sunshine State of Florida, Sean DeFries.
Thank you, President Tricia. Thank you, JCI USA. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm trying to wake y'all up. Want to get you off your phone? Let's get on your feet. Come on. I know I'm eating up my time. They said they would cut off the mic. I said I didn't need a mic. Go ahead and give somebody around you that's not right next to you a high five and say, "You rock." You rock. Man, that sounds awesome. I see a whole bunch more smiles on your face right now. So next step is, if you have ever been to a TOYA, stay standing. If you have ever been to a TOYA ceremony, Top Outstanding Young Americans, for our senators in the room, 10 outstanding young men back in the day. If you have a state award ceremony that's similar, sit down for me. If you have been to one. If you haven't been to one, stay standing. All right, excellent. We got almost done. We got a couple newbies in the room. Hey guys, make sure you talk to these folks and tell them how great it is. You guys can have a seat. Thank you. Next up, raise your hand if one of those award winners is from your state. Is one of those award winners from your area, your city? My next question to you, are those winners one of your members? 18 to 40. 41 if we let you renew that extra year. Those are the folks who are inspiring other people. How many people come to this room to make a difference? I think everybody's hand will go up on that one. You can't tell me that those 10 honorees that we come here to honor every year should not be a JC member. How many people saw Sam Cooner yesterday? I know I did. We met him last year, but hearing his story yesterday, man, that ignited us. I know Florida, he's down in Melbourne, so we need to work with him when he's down there. One of our traditions, we've been doing this event for 80 years. The question I pose to you today, has Elvis left the building? At points in our time, we've said, TOYA is antiquated. Elvis has left the building. We don't need to honor these individuals. Well, if we don't, who is? If we don't, who is? Because we want to inspire the next set of individuals to come up here and be like Henry Ford, John F. Kennedy, Elvis. Where are we? We're in Indianapolis. Peyton Manning. All people during a time of their life could have been JC members. And we could build projects around them. And they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers. We talk about membership, growing membership. The first way I would empower all of you, when you nominate your Toya recipient, potential Toya recipient, talk to them about the JCs. There's nothing worse for our organization than for them to come here and say, I didn't know much about the JCs, but I learned a whole lot this weekend. They all have to sign a form. That's a great opportunity for you to get them, have them talk to your chapter first. Talk to them, tell them why they should be a member, why they need to be a member. I'm going to leave you with one quote by one of our past Toya recipients. I challenge you to make your life a masterpiece. I challenge you to join the ranks of those people who live what they teach and who walk their talk. Tony Robbins. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Sean. From the Palmetto State of South Carolina, Heather Danley Stevenson.
I hope President Sean didn't get 30 seconds of my time. As active JCs in this room, we have all spent countless hours on different ideas for projects, bylaws, meetings, and even the future of this organization. In 1946, William Brownfield authored our JC Creed while driving a 75-mile journey to work. Members across the world have recited the words at meetings and events, but are we as JCs truly living and promoting the organization by these words? Do each of us read the Creed and understand its purpose and how it is the only tradition that has continued throughout the years? What does each line of that Creed mean to you as a member of this young person's organization? We believe that faith in God gives meaning and purpose to human life. It doesn't matter who or what you believe in, but you must believe in something. It is said that if you truly believe in something, you're passionate about it. For me and many of the members in this room, faith in God truly gives meaning and purpose to our lives. That the brotherhood of man transcends the sovereignty of nations. JCI USA, we are all in it together. We all share the brotherhood of one for changing the world for the better, and our passion and mission do not have any boundaries. The sky is the limit. That economic justice can best be won by free men through free enterprise. We as JCs believe that all members, as well as all people, should be allowed to use their skills and abilities with no boundaries while improving society. We encourage members to use their skills, but are engaging in new projects. That government should be of laws rather than of men. No one should be above the law, and the law is the same for all people, no matter what status they may hold in society. That Earth's great treasure lies in human personality. Every single one of you in this room is unique. Human personality cannot be made or duplicated. Everyone has their own individual talents and can bring it to the organization. It's everyone's uniqueness that changes the world. And that service to humanity is the best work of life. One that believes in the Creed most definitely finds service to humanity is the best work of life. When you can do something for somebody who you can never repay, that, my fellow JCs, is when you fulfill the greatest gift of life. Always putting others first when we find true value in our own lives. The 65 words of the Creed have inspired the individual members and community throughout the world. A deeper understanding of our JC Creed will serve to strengthen the commitment of young people who choose to participate in the JC movement. For over 70 years, this organization has been consistent with one thing, and that is our creed. As we approach our 100th year of celebration, let's continue to live by our creed, the very covenant that bonds every member with each other while impacting our world in which we live. It's always good to continue JC traditions that have been working and not complicating things. Now is a perfect time as we're approaching our 100th year and then into our 101st year to go back to the basics. JC 101. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. One quick note, those individuals who have been asked to complete the speaker evaluations, please turn them in to past President Faye Walsh before you leave the room after the showcase. Thank you. Up from the city that never sleeps, Stevenson Von Durer. Adam, on deck.
What if someone tells you that you can't lead? How would you feel? Shocked? Stunned? Discouraged? Wouldn't you be? Junior Chamber International is not about that. In fact, it is the exact opposite. It is the upliftment, it is the support, and it is the encouragement. Our network of over 10 million strong alumni with nearly 200,000 active members is a clear legacy of leadership. And it is true by first and foremost, by becoming a leader, that one can really feel being a JCs. Call it a phenomenon. Call it the world's greatest leadership movement. We are JCI. We are truly the only organization where everyone can be a leader in the realm of true brotherhood, community building, economic prosperity, and personal development. Along these lines come the opportunity for growth through expanding our individual and organizational impact by constantly creating new chapters and leaders. I have seen and experienced the power of growth through developing new leaders by creating new chapters and providing more leadership opportunities. Cultivate and harness a culture of exemplary leadership. In New York State, we have seen an overwhelming response in the creation of new chapters. In my 10 years of membership, I have personally assisted and recruited more than 70 new members, some of whom rose to chapter presidents, vice presidents, and national vice president. And I'm proud to say that Rhea Serrano is one of them who was instrumental in the revival of New Jersey. Active Citizens Framework remains a very potent tool in achieving public-private partnerships, in enhancing personal skill sets, employability in our communities, addressing hunger and poverty, peace building, etc., where we can manifest our impact in our societies. The legacy in this organization lies in our growth and impact. Like many of you, I couldn't thank JCI enough to be part of this organization, contribute to nation building, and I hope to further my involvement in the form of advocacies. I have always believed that the best decision I have ever made as a human individual was to become a leader. Personally, I am proudest to have benefited from both the leadership and the learning experience, the process of goal setting, in giving back to the community, and inspiring others. I know what holds true today, and even tomorrow, is that JCI will always be the source of upliftment, support, and encouragement. And I know, in the freedom of man, nothing is impossible, that you as a leader can be the change. Thank you.
Thank you, Stevenson. Home of the Great Lakes of Michigan, Adam Bonnerak. Adam.
You know, one of the downsides of going 15th, I think I'm 15th today, is that you hear so many great ideas before you that you go, how can I incorporate that into my speech as well? And I was sitting in the back of the room and I'm going, you know, I'm a little surprised that I think I might, at this point, be the first person to speak about topic 5, which was the active citizen framework. And then Stevenson just did a fantastic job talking about just that. So yesterday, we had the opportunity to hear from Senator Todd Young. And the senator yesterday did something that I have noticed almost every senior elected official does when they speak. And that is that they talk about the fact that we as a country and as a people need to focus on those things that unite us much more than those things that divide us. And he talked about that yesterday when he was talking about isms. He talked about the fact that isms are what divide this country apart, whether that's progressivism, liberalism, capitalism, Final Four favoritism. Isms are what can divide this country apart. The opposite of isms, in my mind, is advocacy. And advocacy is what we need to focus on as an organization. Advocacy is the opposite of isms. Advocacy, by definition, is the public support of a particular cause. And what I thought was most interesting about advocacy is that it comes from the Latin root advocare, which means to summon or call to one's aid. As members of JCI, that is what we do every time we are out in our communities working on an active citizen framework project. We are calling people to our aid, we are advocating for a cause. And our entire organization's history is based on advocacy. We heard that from earlier speakers that were talking about what Henry Giesenbier worked on in terms of wanting a good reputation for the community. And one of the messages that he always shared that I thought was so great was the fact that one of his first causes that he advocated for, that he rallied young people around, was where we were going to build highways and streets. We have advocated for things like statehood for Alaska and Hawaii. We have advocated for causes such as peace or an end to malaria. Advocacy is what can solve our membership challenges, because advocacy is what can bring people to this organization. And we have a fantastic tool that we can use in order to be better advocates in the active citizen framework. But I can't tell you what I think your community should go out and advocate for. Every community needs to determine that for themselves. But what I do know is that every community, not just in the United States, but every community in the world would benefit from an increase in advocates. That is the tradition from the last 100 years that we can take forward into the next 100 years, and that is the issue that will solve our membership challenges. We need to use the active citizen framework itself and see how we can apply that to the concept of advocacy. We need to go back and rally young people to causes. We need to remind people that as Americans, we can be united in causes regardless of what political candidate we're supporting, and regardless of whether or not we agree with the president, or regardless of whether or not we agree with other representatives. That doesn't matter. We can use advocacy through the active citizen framework to remember that we need to advocate not only for ourselves and our communities, but we need to advocate for our friends, we need to advocate for our families, and most importantly, we need to advocate for those who cannot advocate for themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. From the First in Flight, North Carolina, Anna Price. TJ Dalton, you're on deck.
I love a good story, and I love a good storyteller. And we are about to celebrate our 100th anniversary as an organization. And man, what a story that is. But how did we get to that point? How have we survived 100 years of making positive impacts in our community? It's through those relationships that we have formed. I joined the Hickory, North Carolina JCs in 2006. I was 26 years old. I thought 40 was a long way away from then. Yes, tomorrow, I celebrate my 39th birthday. 40's not so far away now. In these past 13 years, though, I have learned so much about myself and about my community around me, and it is through those relationships that I have formed. When I joined, I did not realize that I was going to get a second family. I did not realize that I would have friendships that would last a lifetime. That family grew in 2008 when I attended my first state convention, and it grew again when I attended my first national convention in 2009. Last year, I was the state president for the North Carolina JCs. And in 2017, when we attended State President's Retreat, that family changed. My family became a family of peers of my other state presidents. We all had like-minded ideas about where our organization should go, and I would go to bat for any single one of those people that shared that journey with me. Through our relationships, there are a lot of different things that happen. As state president, I was able to visit a lot of our chapters and meet a lot of members that I hadn't met before. One of our chapters in Jacksonville, North Carolina, is a rebirth chapter. I visited them not knowing a single one of their members and not having a lot of communication with any of them either. When I went to their social that they were having, I experienced what it was like to be a new JC again. I experienced that enthusiasm about the future and just how your relationships with other people help shape who you are. When I received a call from Mike Souther from the Florida JCs in September that he was going to go take supplies to North Carolina and he wanted to know of a JC chapter that he could touch base with, in 5 minutes, I was able to contact someone in the Jacksonville JCs to arrange for him to meet with them. And he drove to North Carolina, dropped those supplies off, was able to leave within about a 30-minute time frame of when the roads shut down. And it was through those relationships that we had created that we were able to make that happen in less than a half an hour. We were able to make those connections to make that happen for our state. Yes, last night I had the opportunity to talk with Leadership Fellow Jack. And we were asking him how the Leadership Fellow program has impacted him. And one of the main things that I can say that he spoke loudly about were those relationships. The relationships with his fellow fellows, his relationship with chapter leaders, his relationship with state leaders. I can tell that that has made a difference in who he is and who he's going to become. And that is what we should all take with us. Just keep fostering those relationships, and this organization will continue for another 100 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. From Big Sky Country of Montana, TJ Dalton. Jackie, on deck.
How are we all doing today? Fantastic. I probably don't need this either, but I'm going to use it for a little while. So I've been at my current position, or my current job, for 5 years. I've been a member of JCI for 7 years longer than that. So if you take those two, I've been a member for 12 years, and the things that I have learned in this organization, I don't think they make a piece of paper tall enough, but I'm sure we could try. So when I first started at my job, I was a part-time employee, just recently laid off at my last job because the business had closed. I had family to support. It took me a little while, but I told myself, I gotta get full-time. There's no way you can support a family part-time. It's not possible. So I worked my butt off, and the 1 month training time that they give you to get out of your new hire status, I did in 2 weeks. The 1 month training time in 2 weeks led to full-time in 1 month. Now this isn't a thing that I want to tell you guys because I want to pat myself on the back. I want to tell you guys this because I was able to utilize skills that I learned here. And that was speaking. Obviously, I was not very good at it when I first started, which was probably not the best thing in a sales job. But here I am with you guys now. I now manage the store for the second time. And I say the second time because the first time I did this, there's a few things that I want you guys to, or a few words I want you guys to remember. Okay? Image, leadership, and empowerment. And then there's one name I want you to remember. Morgan. Okay? These are all going to come into play as we talk. So when I did this job the first time, I did it for the money. I stepped into a role as a boss. Now, we've heard thousands of times there's a big, big difference. Unfortunately, at the time, I didn't see that. And I had 9 employees under me at one time. Most of them were transferring to other stores. But out of those 9 employees, when I finally stepped down out of that leadership role, that boss role the first time, I had 2. So now we had 3 employees in the store that should have 9. So when I went back and reflected on that, I was done. I was not ready to do this job. I didn't want to be at the company anymore. I was upset. I had a supervisor that was over top of me that was kind of the same mentality, that boss role. So we talk a lot about when we try to recruit members, mirroring is a big thing, right? So we have a tendency to do unto others as they do unto us, and that's what I did. I was not a leader, I was a boss. Totally wrong. But as I stayed with the company, I had another leader come in that kind of affected me inside and outside. And she empowered me to do this job again. So when I did it, I stepped in and I hired a girl named Morgan. Okay? Morgan's last name is Campbell Queen. So her abbreviation, we turned it into McQueen, which then turned into Lightning. So one day I sat down with her because she was having some issues. She came from another store. And I said, Lightning, what's going on? And she says, TJ, I just don't know if I can do this job. And I sat there and I'm like, you know what, Lightning? I'm going to do for you what somebody did for me. And they empowered me. So when they empowered me, I sat down and I did the same for her. And she says, TJ, I want to appreciate, I want to thank you. And I said, Lightning, you're so welcome. And she sat there and she looked at me and said, ka-chow, TJ. Ka-chow. Anybody watch Cars? That's where that came from. Thank you.
Thanks, TJ. From something that's near and dear to my heart, America's Dairyland, Wisconsin, Jackie Quass, and Sarah Austin's on deck.
Good afternoon. So I joined the JCs back in 2003. Actually, that was the first event I went to, was in 2003. Just out of nursing school. First event I went to was our Dominion of Terror, our haunted house. Passed my boards a little bit after that. In 2004, got talked into showing up to a meeting, even though I just enjoyed helping at the haunted house, but what the heck. So first meeting I show up to is an election meeting, still joined, which is kind of crazy, but wasn't going to ever do that board thing or anything, because by nature, and some of you may be surprised by this, but I am truly an introvert. Very shy, very shy. As a kid, I would hide behind my parents' legs. They would always tell me, don't worry, they don't bite. So naturally, I assumed that some people must bite. So they would say, I would always say, people bite, because, well, duh. So, you know, middle school, high school, I was always very, very shy. Walking through the halls and things of school, and I felt like people walked through me or bumped into me. Luckily, I played violin, so I could beat them away with my violin case. But so I was super shy in school and in my job and in the JCs. So once I joined the JCs, about a year later, I chaired my first project, ended up on the board, started getting a little more comfortable having to present things at the chapter level. And funny thing happened at work. And all of a sudden, I was asked to be the head of our unit coordinating council chair in 2006. And funny enough, I knew how to do agendas and Robert's Rules of Order and minutes, and nobody had to teach me that at work. Amazing. So I got to bring that knowledge from the JCs right into my job as a RN. And then they asked me to be a CPR instructor. Well, now I have to do a little more talking in front of people. Well, by then I was just a little more comfortable, and it was just a couple people at a time, like 6 people versus, it wasn't like a huge group, so that was okay. So joined the professional development committee, again, just in the committee, so not a big deal. I'm okay with that. At the JC level now, I became chapter president, and biggest fear was talking in front of everybody at our banquet, especially because we had all those older people I looked up to, all those mentors I had, the ones that were 10 years older than me, senators and things, and I was just terrified. Got through that, and 2 years later I ended up at my work as chair of our professional development committee at the hospital level and at our system level in Wisconsin, so big group of people. So currently state president of Wisconsin, and a couple of weeks ago our nurse executive at our hospital, who actually taught my CNA class when I was 17, asked me to speak on the JCs to our new recent young hires, and so this whole thing has come full circle, and my manager's like, oh, you'll be a good speaker, and I would never have guessed that 18 years ago or 10 years ago. So the JCs have really made it come full circle. So thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. From another home of the Great Lakes, Michigan, Sarah Austin. Parker.
Good afternoon. The tradition of JCI that I find is most important for the next 100 years is our professional skills competitions program. Now you'll notice I didn't say the competitions program. I said the professional skills competitions program, because it's more than just competitions. Now don't get me wrong, I'm a competitive person. I wouldn't eat the red chips today at lunch because a certain green and white team is playing a team that has red in their colors, and I'm competitive. However, go green. I have found that the professional skills competitions is a gateway drug to get you into all the amazing things that the JCI has to offer. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. I was not a social, and am not a social person, generally speaking, with people I don't know. Now, all of you who have met me over the past 12 years are going, what is she talking about? But naturally, I'm not. I'm not the person who walks up to a stranger standing in the hallway and starts up a conversation. Or at least I wasn't before professional skills. At my first conference, the only reason I attended my first state conference is because my husband was a competitor, and I wanted to see him compete. So I went, and I met JCs from across my state. The next time we went to conference, my husband voluntold me that I was participating in debate. He needed a 4th person on the debate team, so I was voluntold to do debate. We ended up winning. And when we won for our state, we then went on to Crystal River in Florida to compete representing Michigan. While I was in Crystal River, I met some JCs from a few other states. One specifically was a New York JC who was on the opposition debate team, Mark Napkowski. So, I struck up a conversation with Mark, we become great friends, and it led to what I use as one of my key reasons why this organization is amazing. A few months later, my husband and I were driving from New Hampshire to Michigan, and we're on the New York Thruway. The thruways get closed because of the snow. I post on Facebook jokingly, I hope the Mack truck we're following knows how to get back to the freeway. Mark immediately, within 10 minutes, Facebook messaged me and says, I know where you're at, we have JCs near where you're at, if you're not back on the highway in 30 minutes, call me. Now luckily we got back on the highway, but at no point was I concerned that I was going to be stranded in the middle of nowhere. Even if the people I was going to stay with had never met me, they were part of my JC family. I'm going to fast forward a little bit to this past June, where I had the honor of going to represent JCI USA on our debate team. And I got to meet JCs from all over the world because of the professional skills competitions. I met people from countries that had so many things different, but we all had the same focus: leadership development through community involvement. Now, don't tell my husband that he's the reason why I'm so active in the JCs and that he was the spark. However, it's really every JC I've met through the competitions program. I'm going to steal a few words from the composer Lin-Manuel Miranda, my second favorite Miranda. I'm not throwing away my shot. By being in the professional skills competitions programs, I got to be in the room where it happened on so many things. We need to continue to promote this on our chapters, on our states, and on our national organization. It doesn't have to be fine and fancy. If you get them on the stage or talking to someone, that little step can be all that matters to come up with the next best future leader. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. From the Hawkeye State, Iowa, Mark Thurbeck.
So I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet, kind of like me. Start off with a joke, right? When looking over the questions for today's showcase, I kept coming back to the fact that this organization has been around for almost 100 years. I think of the tradition that follows us through those years the most. However, I also think about a book by Robert Putnam, Bowling Alone, The Collapse and Revival of America Community. As a college student in political science, I didn't understand the relevancy of that book. Now as an active state president for the great state of Iowa, I appreciate the book and realize the big red lights there. The book and its argument is about civic involvement and the lack thereof. One quote that stands out to me is, "Community connectedness is not just about warm, fuzzy tales of civic triumphs. It's immeasurable and well-documented ways that social capital makes an enormous difference in our life." I believe that this social capital that the JCs provide is the tradition of service to our communities. As we state in the creed, service to humanity is the best work of life. I believe that to be true. And when I have the opportunity to talk to past members, current members, the thing I hear most about is their time at the specific project with their specific friends. That word's always hard. That I always hear them talk about and have a good time. That's the memories that they have. Those are the events that bring them back and continue to keep them involved. These service projects not only allow all members of walks of life to be able to work together and become bonded, but also allows our members to grow their leadership skill sets through the planning, developing, and executing the projects that serve our community. This goes hand in hand with our mission and to provide development opportunities that empower young people the opportunity to create positive change. As a JC, sorry, my speech got cut there. We talk about being a young professional organization, and the main thing that most professional organizations discuss are networking and professional development skills that they add. But I believe we add a third caveat to that. We have a third component that we provide, which is the social capital through the service to community. The JCs have a long-standing tradition of providing social capital to our communities through multiple avenues. This history has been helped and bonded us and left a lasting impression not only for past members, but others in the community who were never a part of our organization. We are an organization of doers, leaders, friends, and families. So I believe moving forward to continue the tradition of a strong professional service-based organization is a challenge the next years, to challenge our members, and specifically next year, 100 hours of community service for 100 years. This would help launch us into our next centennial and allow us to be re-energized and be the great JCs that we are. I thank you for your time.
From the old line state of Maryland, Emily Knock and Justin.
Picture it, St. Louis, Missouri, 2014. A young chapter president attends her first national event. She's unsure of what to expect, unsure of her position, really doesn't know much about the national or international organization. What she finds is 3 other chapter presidents. They end up talking, they become quick friends. For the rest of their years, even though in different states across the country, they talk on a daily basis. They help each other through their years, and by the end of the year, they've all had great successes because of the support of the network they formed. Of course, I'm talking about the members of West Kelly-Sibley Land. Miranda Williams from Mississippi, Neil Fitzgerald from California, Katie Pataka from West Virginia, and myself from Maryland. While it started as a joke, the name West Kelly-Sibley Land, former our own state, it turned into something that was so much more because we were there for each other. We were each other's network of support through good times and bad times through the year. I shared this story with you today because in this time of competing organizations, when we have to put the best aspects that we have, those things that no other competition will have, our network is one of our most powerful benefits that we have. In a recent article, Business Insider gave 7 benefits of having a strong network: guidance, discovery, growth, resources, status, opportunities, and support. These are all things that I'm sure you can find in our organization. Guidance. We have our senators. We have our institutes. We have the leaders of our organization there to offer mentorship in both our personal and professional careers. Discovery. How many people have found something new about themselves in this organization? Perhaps something new they wanted to experience. I never had any interest in politics, and last year I ran for city council in my hometown, and it was because of this organization. Growth. Personal and professional. When I started here, I was very uncomfortable with public speaking. I had very little confidence in myself. The things I've learned in this organization, whether it be from coming up here and doing something like this, or training that Jay Johnson did on body language, which taught me how to deal properly with my employees when I'm speaking with them. There's so many opportunities that we come across. Status. We're part of an international organization. That symbol inside our shield represents the United Nations. And we have the right to use it because as a member of JCI, JCI has consultative status on the UN Economic and Social Council, which is the highest honor that an NGO can have. That's pretty powerful, and that's something you're not going to get from the other organizations out there. Opportunities. We have all the opportunities that we found. Maybe it's for a job, people found a new career path, or it could be opportunities in your love life. How many people have met their significant other through JCI? I hear it's match.com. It's also, I talked about when I ran for city council, I was able to win the endorsement of the local paper, something I was told I'd never be able to do. The reason cited, because of my involvement in JCI. And the last one, support. I talked about how West Kelly-Sibley Land supported each other, how we helped each other achieve growth throughout the year. But on a personal level, there's lots of support I saw myself in this organization as well.
Thank you, Emily. Last but not least, from Big Sky Country in Montana, Justin Wesky.
Nearly 100 years ago, a man with a vision created a national organization. That man, Henry Biesenbeer. He created a movement based on the idea that young people needed to be empowered to develop themselves more quickly than they were afforded in the workplace. That way, an individual can thrive and succeed in life much sooner than historically seen in the workforce. We have so much capacity for amazing successes in our life because Henry made his voice heard, and we have this opportunity here today in the JCs. I myself firsthand know this frustration of wanting more empowerment. I was in my 20s, I had a college degree, I had ideas and I wanted to be heard. I was not being empowered. I was seen as a young 20-something that needed to put in my time. I just wanted to be heard. That chance came the day that my friends and I met State President Misty Minor and National President Joni Kramer. It was inspiring. They told us about the JCs and how we could start a chapter in our town Billings. We just needed more people. 3 weeks later, after meeting 3 times, we got that opportunity. We brought 22 people to the table, and we elected and formed our chapter that fateful night in late September. I was just a young guy working as a graphic designer at a marketing firm. I had no idea that the JCs were about to make me bigger and better than I could have ever imagined. Not only through my experience in the JCs, did I have an outlet for my frustration in the workforce, but I had this amazing network and creative outlet to be heard in this chapter that we had been developing. I was learning tons of skill sets through application and experiences in the JCs of teamwork, managing people and time, managing budgets, and making connections and partnerships in my community. I was also learning a ton from my fellow members who also brought tons of skill sets and experiences from their background. I was also plugging my company that I worked for, Kinetic, all the time. I would slap my logo on everything that I would do for every community partner that my chapter worked with. And then my coworkers would come to work and they would be shocked that they had heard someone talk about our company in town. But the fact was that it was because of me being a JC and getting involved in the community that people were talking about me and the company I worked for. Because I was out there sharing my experiences and my skill sets to help make my fellow members and the community I was immersing myself in to be bigger and better than before. With time, I outgrew my company. They weren't offering what I needed to continue my success and my path. So I went to a different company. The JCs had helped develop my skills so much that my skill sets at that new company were too much for them, and they were growing too fast because of that. I then started my own business. I had built up such a great network of people around my community, my state of Montana, and across this country, that I was able to hit the ground running and be successful as an entrepreneur. And this happened because of the JCs. And guess what? It wasn't because I was a volunteer. It's because I invested my energy and time into an organization that builds leaders and lifts people up higher than they could have ever imagined before. I am an example of what the JCs can do to empower and support success in our lives. This is why the JCs is the perfect organization for today's diverse array of individuals hungry for a voice. Young people want to be heard, and the JCs is the movement to develop the skill sets and abilities to allow this. This organization should be thriving because of personal testimonials like mine, and I have heard and witnessed hundreds of others just like this that are making us so much, giving us so much success in our lives because of the JCs. Whether members are going from quiet to vocal, from entry level to management in a company, or starting their own businesses. And I'm not talking about over a decade. I'm talking about this happens in 2 to 3 years for most members. Maybe not, mine was 10 years to get from where I went, but every few years, I was able to jump a huge next level in my personal and professional development because of the JCs. And that's an insane return on investment for a member. We provide development opportunities that empower young people to create positive change. I continually hear our members state that we are a volunteer group. We are selling ourselves short. We have culturally branded ourselves as something we are not. This is the reason why people join and leave, because they are very confused as to what we are. Regardless if your mindset is JCI or JCs, we are all here to make good things happen for other people. And through that, we help ourselves rise all together. That is our mission, and that is how empowerment happens. If we can get our members on the same page about what we are, potential members who have so many priorities in life will realize that investing their time and energy into the JCs is a no-brainer. This is why I'm running to be your national president, to empower you, to empower your life, your members' lives, and your communities. As your 100th national president, my vision for 2020 is to just JC. In the JCs, I want all members to realize that to JC is to lead. Stop overthinking and focus on just JCing. To just JC, a member simply needs to focus on 3 things in the organization. First, have a plan. Whether you're an individual, a chapter, or a state organization, set out a purpose, goal, and action steps to achieve that goal and plan. As Benjamin Franklin said, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. Each of you as members have personal and professional aspirations to achieve, and I want you to utilize the JCs to achieve that and to help your fellow members achieve theirs as well. Just JC. Second, hold yourself accountable to your plan by taking full advantage of programs we offer like Passport to Civic Leadership. Follow a personal roadmap of milestones to achieve and make your JC's experience the most amazing experience it can be. Any goal you have in life is supported and achievable when you have something to hold yourself accountable to. Just JC. Third, be a part of something greater than yourself and utilize best practices to empower your community. The Civic Leadership Certification Program is built to provide chapters and states with direction and the ability to be successful. Just JC and use the tools that are in place to be your most successful being. Just JC. We need to make these programs more accessible and streamlined. The foundation is set, and we just need to make it easy, and as your national president, we will. That way, the only thing left for our members to do is just JC. Through simplifying JC experience and engaging our members to the fullest, my vision for 2020 is clear. Empower yourself and empower your community by just JCing. I can't do it alone. It's going to take a lot of us to do this. Say yes with me. You are all the future, and from what I can see, the future looks really good. My name is Justin Wutsky, candidate to serve as your 100th national president, and I'm asking you to just JC with me.
an evaluation form to bring it up front here to past National President Faye Walsh. And I'm going to turn it over to IED Dawn for some announcements.
Thank you, Tricia. Okay, we have next on deck will be our very special keynote with Sonia Jones, who is a former competitor participant on The Biggest Loser. She is an incredible speaker with an incredible story. You are not going to want to miss this. We are going to give you a 5-minute break because we've been in here for a while. 5 minutes, people. That's not 5 JC minutes. That's 5 actual minutes.